Hello, everybody. Thank you for checking this out. My name is Tom Siebert. I'm speaking here tonight with Fritz Springmeier. I'm hoping if you're watching this, you know who Fritz is, but if you don't, I'll just go quickly off the top. He's one of the foremost experts in the Illuminati bloodlines of the 13 Illuminati families, as well as one of the leading experts on mind control. And these are two things that are very top of mind for us in the world today. And uh, I know Fritz has told his story a lot of times, and I'm going to include a link in this video to one of his longer biographies that he said on a different podcast. But I do think that just like pretty a short introduction from Fritz about who he is and how he got to where he is with his expertise would probably be a good place to start. So Fritz, can you just kind of give a quick rundown of your history and biography, please?
Yes, in 1978, I felt a calling to expose the corruption in the churches. I did that for about 6 months and was talked out of continuing by some Christians. About 10 years later, I picked up where I had left off. But in order to expose what's going on in the churches and take care of the corruption in the churches, you have to expose what's going on in the world. So in 1990, I stepped forward and started publicly exposing the world order. And I did thousands of hours of research into the Illuminati. I was looking at the Illuminati from the outside in. It's like going up to somebody's house and looking in the window to try to figure out what's going on. But then I met in 1991, I met four women who had been teamed together in the Illuminati that were a support team to escape. And because I had four people whose stories collaborated, I finally got to see the Illuminati from the inside. And that was like somebody had opened up the door and let me into their house. And so they they really focused my research because they told me that there were two things that were important. There were the bloodlines and there was the mind control, the trauma-based mind control. So you see, before I met them, I had written the Be Wise as Serpents book. But then a few years later, I put together a series of articles I did on the bloodline and came out with Bloodlines of the Illuminati, which has been out since 1995. And then I followed that with three books on the mind control, two of which are still in print. And yeah, you might ask, was there a reaction from the other side? Yes, there was lots of reaction from the other side, but uh, thank the good Lord, I'm still here. And that's it in a nutshell.
Okay, great. Um, So yes, and your expertise is really what made me reach out to you now because we have a mutual acquaintance, an investigative reporter who I know, um, who said that years and years ago he had talked to you and said that there had been a vote inside the Illuminati to take everything public. They were tired of running from the shadows, ruling from the shadows. They wanted everybody to know that they were in charge of things. And, you know, this dovetailed to me with something that I had read many years ago called the externalization of the hierarchy by a theosophist named Alice Bailey. And at the time when I read it years ago, it sounded like a pretty good thing. But from what we're seeing so far and now, it seems like a terrible thing. So I guess if you could address, is what we're seeing now a case of the Illuminati going public? And is this the realization of the externalization of the hierarchy as prophesized by Alice Bailey?
Yeah, Alice Bailey was uh, Illuminati, and so her prophecies that all goes back to the OTO and the Theosophical Society and all of that, which is, I'm not going to get into all those connections, but they connect directly into the OTO and the Theosophical Society, connect directly into the Illuminati. The Illuminati is a secret society that isn't in the public's eye or hasn't been. and Theosophical Society and OTO at least are things that you can tangibly see in the here and now.
Yes, thank
So
you.
yeah, she was saying, and there's different facets to the externalization of the hierarchy. One is the hierarchy themselves are going to be more visible, but more than that is they're going to take all the rituals and the mumbo jumbo and the occult stuff that they were doing in secret and bring it out into the public. It's going to be externalized into public life. So you watch the Paris Olympics, and they were, which I didn't. I just heard about it secondhand. But that's externalization of the hierarchy. They're taking all this occult ritual stuff and throwing it right in our face.
Bless
Is
you.
that good or bad? I don't know. In fact, they even the a number of kingpins of the Illuminati uh, interacted with me, and it was under consideration by them because they felt like, one, over the years I hadn't blinked, I'd stared them face to face, and two, my material described them better than anybody. And they thought, well, you've done all this research into the Illuminati. Maybe you could work with us and you could write a history of us. And we'll open up our secret uh, libraries that are hidden in certain places in Europe, and you could go in. We'll give you a team of researchers to help you, and you could write a history of us for the public. So they were trying to include me in their externalization process, but it didn't work because I think they wanted me to gush over their offers of making me a successful person and rich, and instead I'm my own person. I can't be bought.
Right.
So I think they realized this person isn't for sale, which probably disappointed them. I wasn't as obedient as they felt was necessary, so they dropped the idea.
I wonder who they
But
got.
I was I'm always leery of these people. You know, it well, and I agree with them. They said the same thing as they said, be close to your friends and closer to your enemies. And I was thinking the same thing. Yeah, I love to be close to my friends, but I want to be close to my enemies too.
Right.
So we're both on the same page for a while.
Right. Right. Well, I mean, again, I remember that quote from Stanley Kubrick. He was like, never get close to real power. I think that's probably pretty good advice.
Yeah.
Um, so, one thing that I touched on, and I'd mentioned this to you prior, is it had always been explained to me that there were like 13 primary Illuminati bloodlines, and then there were also 7 primary secret societies or / societies with secrets, and that the bloodlines were scattered among these 7 secret societies, which to my personal theory, conspiracy theory, is maybe there are actually 8 now. I don't know. That's just my thing, and I'm not going to get into that. But you had mentioned that this is really not the case, that it's not just 7 secret society. There's an untold number, and that the bloodlines are scattered across. Can you go into detail about that a little bit, please?
Yeah, the way that yeah, and I hadn't really thought how I was going to approach this, so it's taking me a minute to gather my thoughts. But I'm going to give what the structure is, and then I will talk about these different secret societies. So Satan chose some bloodlines that he was going to work with, and he's basically said, I will make you extremely powerful. You serve me, and everything will go your way. And you can control and you can have all the money and power you want. Power is more important to these people than money. Well, they control the way money is created. Like people that control the Federal Reserve, it's shareholders, and then the people that answer to the shareholders, they create money. and they can send trillions of dollars towards the Illuminati secretly. So money is not as important as power, but they got all of that. Satan, who the scripture says is the god of this world,
Yes.
said, "You serve me, you bring everything under subjection, and I will help you." You know, so these bloodlines have been around for a long time. Their last names have shifted and changed over the years, but there's been at the very top is the bloodline, which you'll oftentimes hear the Merovingians, the Holy Bloodline. You'll hear Jesus's bloodline and so forth like that. Well, they really believe that they are descended, that their holy bloodline is descended from both Lucifer and Christ. In fact, that's a doctrine that the Mormons believe in, the doctrine that the Jehovah's Witnesses have preached long ago that they've never disavowed. And so you see some actual groups, Mormons, LDS, their founder, Joseph Smith Jr., Freemason, Illuminati, Bloodline, Charles Taze Russell, who founded the Watchtower Society, Freemason, Illuminati, Bloodline. You know, so it's no surprise that they promulgate this important Illuminati doctrine about this Merovingian bloodline. And at the very top, they have the top of their pyramid, they have certain councils, committees, and certain people. That's the hierarchy. And the hierarchy, I exposed the women's, there was a castle over there, Chateau Amaroy. It's the Mother of Darkness castle. And I exposed that. And they had to eventually quit doing their Mother of Darkness high level rituals there and had to move it to another castle. Excuse me. So that's the hierarchy. But there's an anarchy level. And the anarchy level are many, many different groups that you wouldn't think are at all related. You know, they have different names, their rituals are different and everything. And that's the anarchy level. So you got this anarchy level that's got a lot of different secret societies, orders, and covens and whatnot. And they will have key people in those that send back to headquarters what's going on. They will keep tabs on them, but you won't be able to really see any connection between all of them. Okay, so that's the actual structure. And that makes sense if you understand what the word occult and arcane and esoteric mean. There's the word occult, arcane, and esoteric all mean the very same thing. They mean secret, hidden knowledge. That means there's esoteric knowledge and exoteric. So the exoteric is what you see. You see the anarchy level, this confusion out there. And it looks like none of them are cooperating or working together. And then the esoteric is the hierarchy level. The same thing goes for religion. It's like the pieces of a pie. All these pieces of a pie look like competing religions. That's the anarchy level. And it makes no sense. You go, well, the Catholics are against the Masons, the Seventh-day Adventists against the Catholics, the Baptists against the Seventh-day Adventists. It's just confusion out here, the anarchy level. But there isn't a hierarchy level. They have key people in all of those different religions, and they can steer those different religions. So surprisingly, and a lot of the directives for these different religious groups or leaders come through the United Grand Lodge there in London. And so the Grand Mufti, which you know, our perception of him is he's Muslim. Well, he's in Cairo, but he's taking orders from the Illuminati that come through the United Grand it's a Masonic lodge, United Grand Lodge there, and likewise, Jewish rabbi that's there in Jerusalem, and so that's what we're seeing is the anarchy level. Now, getting back to your question about, and I'm trying to make this as quick as possible so I don't use up all of our time on one question, but when you go, and I have looked at what people are saying, and I'll give you an example of what people say. Oh, the Freemasons are one of the top 7 secret societies in the world, and it's like, do you understand what Freemasonry is, people? Freemasonry is hundreds of different organizations, some related, some not. There's the York Rite, but there's the Memphis Rite. There's all these different rites, and granted, they all can tie back in together, just like I've been describing an anarchy level and a hierarchy level. But what is Freemasonry? It's not one secret society. It's many different things. You got women's branch out here, different kinds. And then what about all these organizations that Freemasonry created and controlled? Are those part of Freemasonry? Or let's go to the Triad. So the Triads is a similar organization in that it's not an organization.
So let me just say, in case people don't know, the Triads would be the Asian organized crime, correct?
Exactly. But
Okay.
there are hundreds of different Triad secret societies with many different names and different hierarchies. And so when you say the Triads, you're not describing one unified thing. Or when you say Rosicrucians, there's quite a few different Rosicrucian groups. And historically, there's been different ones. And then if you say OTO, there's 4 OTO. So do they really understand when they say Freemasonry, they're thinking one organization? Well, it's not one organization. What is behind these organizations? That's what my Bloodlines of the Illuminati book, and I'm going to show people what that looks like.
Please
because
do.
There's a lot of fake books out there purporting to be my book.
No, that's the real deal. That's the real deal.
The real deal, people.
Yes. I've
It's
seen,
a book.
yes, I've seen the people who have ripped off your stuff and like broken it into 2 or 3 volumes so they can get 3 times the price and things like that. That's too bad. But let me, before I go on, like, I understand that there are different branches of Freemasonry and the Triads or whatever. But as you work your way up towards the pyramid, is there not one master mason who oversees all of Freemasonry? And then it goes down into like subsidiaries, or no?
No. What controls these different groups is the Illuminati. And all these people that come at me and say, Fritz doesn't know anything, Illuminati's not all that powerful. Illuminati, that's the hierarchy controlling all these different groups. So that's why the mother secret society is the Illuminati.
Okay. But is there
another word to describe it would be generational Satanism.
Right. Yes. Yes.
I only use that term Illuminati because that's the term they use, because they believe they've been Illuminized to divinity.
Right. Right. Which actually, I mean, again, I want to stick to the stuff. I could ask you 1,000 questions, but I'm going to stick to the stuff that I think needs to be more broadly discussed. And so while we're talking about the secret societies and the bloodlines, one of the things I've been reading about recently is that even above these 13 Illuminati families, there's something called the Black Nobility, which you say is actually that's not the case, that they're not above the Illuminati families. Can you expound upon that a bit? Because that's kind of the one back and forth I'm seeing a lot of. Go ahead.
Yeah, the Black Nobility are those families that go generationally back to the Roman Empire, the Roman emperors, right? So they've been around for a long time. This is what I'm talking about. I frequently, when I'm talking to people, I say, way back in antiquity, you had these powerful bloodlines. Like the first 5 emperors of the Roman Empire were connected genetically. They're considered a family. And the Orsini Black Nobility family is a derivative of it. So, okay. And then where did those original emperors come from? They didn't come out of the blue. They had antecedents too. But the thing is that I ask people, I say, look, there's always been the common people, the serfs, and then these pharaohs that are godlike that everybody worships and can have all the food and all the money and all the health care and everything that they want, while everybody else is a starving serf and scraping by. When did the elite, when in history, ask yourself, when in history did the elite that are controlling things ask themselves, you know what, we're tired of ruling things. We're just going to turn this over to the common schmuck. Never. There was never a time in history where those powerful elite families said, we're tired of this. We're just going to let the common schmucks out there, the useless eaters, we're going to turn it over to them. No, they never did. All they did is so that they didn't catch any flack, they went underground, so to speak, where it's harder for us to see. But you had the Pope. The Pope lost the papal state, and the armies came in and took over the Vatican. Okay, so if the Black Nobility were so powerful, how come they couldn't prevent their position being captured? They couldn't. And then Napoleon, he came into Rome. Napoleon was a Freemason. He came into Rome. He took over all their wealth. He controlled everything. No, if these people were so powerful, they could have stopped Napoleon, but they didn't. So what happened was the Pope, this was in 1968, if I remember correctly, he took away some of the privileges of some of these Black noble families that had been loyal to him, even during those periods when the Vatican had been seized, had been under occupation. He took away some of their privileges, like they had privileges of having special license plates on their vehicles that were, people need to understand the Vatican is a separate country.
Yes.
Right. And the Black nobility are dual national. They are both Italian citizens as well as Vatican citizens. And he took away their privilege to have license plates. Well, if these people are running the world, they can't even stop the Pope from taking over their license and removing their privilege to have Vatican license plates. These people are not running the world. They couldn't even stop the Vatican being captured a couple of times. No, these bloodlines have moved in to mix with the Illuminati bloodlines, because what happens is these powerful bloodlines, they're out sort of like with radar, and they're looking, and any family that has a lot of political power, financial power, and occult power, they want to thread that in. It's like a rope. They want to take that and weave it in. It's like braiding a girl's hair, They want to braid that back. They want to genetically bring that in to make themselves more powerful. You either join them or get destroyed, And so these powerful bloodlines just intermix.
Right.
You go through history, you'll see, Romeo and Juliet, that was a battle between the Guelphs and the Ghibellines in Italy, but also in all of Europe, which this relates to the Black nobility, because those Guelphs became Black noble. this took over all. This was all over Europe because there was a Holy Roman Emperor, and the Ghibellines felt like the Pope should be just a religious figure, and the Guelphs felt like he should be both a religious and a political figure. And the Guelphs won. The Ghibellines had the support from Northern Europe. And anyway, where I was going with this is Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet.
Yes.
Romeo was a Guelph, Juliet was a Ghibelline. You see, two factions. Well, ultimately, what are we seeing here with two factions? Well, Christ said something very profound, and this is something I've tried to get people to understand, because they accused Christ of casting out demons by the power of Beelzebub, and Christ said, "A kingdom divided against itself can't stand." Satan isn't against himself. Now, a lot of people read that and misinterpret it, but he wasn't talking about United States. He wasn't talking about his kingdom. He was saying Satan's kingdom's not divided against itself. And it isn't. So ultimately, we have two factions, the Ghibellines, backed by the Northern Europeans, the Guelphs, and they're fighting. And they bring in all of Europe into their struggle. Okay, what do we got going on here? Hegelian dialectics. That's what the Illuminati are all about. Hegelian dialectic, conflict. You do a synthesis from conflict. So to answer a question I imagine you're going to ask me is what's going on right now. We got Hegelian dialectic. So, Tom, we had the absolute worst libtard, liberal, crazy Democratic administration the last 4 years, totally destroying this country. And in reaction to that, they're going to give us the other radical side of the thing. They're going to give us a radical Republican agenda that's just as and they did this with Germany after World War I. They had the Weimar Republic. Germans were starving in the street. It was chaos. There was fighting in the street, communists. And then who came along? We're going to have law and order. We're going to give the German people 3 square meals a day. We're gonna make Germany great again.
Oh,
you know. And it was Adolf Hitler, and they democratically voted him in. And then everything looked great. There's a reason why the Germans went to these rallies where there are thousands of people raising their arms, saluting Hitler, because he had brought them from destitution and he was making Germany great. But where did it lead to? Oh, disaster. That's where we're going right now, and Americans are going to be blamed for it. Never mind that his vice presidential candidate's a Bilderberger. Everybody's looking at him and the mainstream media is like, oh, he's this poor common schmuck, No, he's a Bilderberger. Something happens to Trump, what are we going to get? So we're watching the show, and unfortunately, most of the American people are falling for it, and they're emotionally behind Trump. That we had this staged shooting, which, going back to the mind control, any normal person would not have climbed up on that roof and acted like that guy did.
No, I got to. We're down to the last 90 seconds. That seems like a great place to start our next part. I would like to get into that, ask some questions. I wanted to keep each of these, about as long as an hour-long TV show without the commercials. So we'll finish off this part and then return to Trump, because we definitely have some questions there. And, I'm going to shut this down and then we can regroup in a couple minutes. Okay, Fritz, we cool? Okay, great. Soon up, there we go.